Class is in session. We're hitting the books on Pub Sports Radio once again on a Monday, November 22nd. Ian Cameron and Conor Mac ready to break down the week ahead in college football. We've got a huge weekday slate of games, with this being Thanksgiving week in the U.S. We've got lots of Thursday NFL and college football. We got a huge Friday, a Black Friday college football slate as well. And we'll break down every single weekday NFL and college football game, as we always do, plus several marquee rivalry games taking place on Saturday in college football. And then, of course, the Sunday NFL whip around at the end of the show. As always, we got C-Mac with me ready to break down this card. So let's get to it. We'll start once again. The last few weeks, we've had a little action to get the week going. More of the same here. Tuesday night, we've got Buffalo taking on Ball State. Ball State 6.5-point home favorites here, 58.5 being the total in this game. This is one of those games where you worry from a Buffalo standpoint, at least I do. You know, we have Ball State laying upwards of a touchdown here. Buffalo, 4-7, can't make a bowl game, and a team that's really had a disappointing run lately. But, man, they played their guts out last week against Northern Illinois in their final home game, really trying to spoil Northern Illinois, you know, being able to wrap up the MAC West division and win it on Buffalo's home field. I give the Bulls credit. They played pretty hard in that game. They went toe-to-toe with the Huskies, and the way they lost that game was just gut-wrenching, 33-27 in overtime, and now they're going on the road here for what seems like a quote-unquote meaningless road finale here against Ball State, 4-win team. They can't even get to a bowl game, even if they win this game. So it's hard for me to make a case for Buffalo. So the question is, can you lay 6.5 with Ball State in this game? A Ball State team that's dropped 2 games in a row to Northern Illinois and Central Michigan and has not necessarily played great football. 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games. The only victory was a 6-point win by the skin of their teeth against a pretty bad Akron team. So you look at it for Ball State, it's not like we have a ton of confidence in them laying almost a touchdown right now, but this has no show written all over it for Buffalo. However, they did lose to Ball State in the MAC championship game. Does that last year? So does that, you know, incentivize and motivate Buffalo here in this game? I'm not sure it does, because even if you win this game, your season's done. You're only 5 wins, and you're not playing in a bowl game in what's been a disappointing season compared to what you did last year. So it really is tough for me to back Buffalo. It would probably have to be Ball State or pass, but it's probably going to end up being pass for me. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, this game's a pass for me as well. There's a lot of football coming up this weekend, and this is one I don't really want to mess with. That game last week with Buffalo seemed like that was the one that they were going to get. Seems like all the sharps were on Buffalo. They were going to win that game. They gave everything they got. I think it was homecoming, yada, yada, the rest there.
Yeah, senior day, homecoming, final home game. Yeah.
All that stuff. So I think that was huge. So this is kind of go through the motions. I'd lay the points with Ball State if I had to. Free bet. It's under a touchdown here. We got pretty good weather, even though it'll be cold. Give me Ball State. I'll lay it. And I guess I'd lean over. Mac, lean over. Nothing real in the total here at 58.5.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I see anything from a Buffalo player or linguist, the coach, that says, hey, we want to beat these guys for losing to them in the MAC title game. I'll maybe back off. But if I don't see that, and they're not even bringing that up, that they lost to Ball State last year in the MAC championship game, that's going to be basically the telltale sign for me that maybe Buffalo doesn't give 2 shits about this game going on the road. And that could be your final piece of the puzzle to say, hey, maybe we should just go ahead and lay the points here with Ball State in this one, because motivation is definitely a question mark here for Buffalo in this game. Western Michigan and Northern Illinois. And by the way, Ball State's going for bowl eligibility. I almost forgot to mention that. Shame on me. But Ball State's going for bowl eligibility. They're at 5 wins. They need another win here to become bowl eligible. So it is big for them if they want to go bowling next month. All right, Western Michigan, Northern Illinois. We've got Western Michigan, 3.5-point road favorites, 63 the total. I mean, Northern Illinois wrapped up the West Division. They're in the MAC championship game next week with that win over Buffalo. This is not a spot I'm taking Northern Illinois. Simple as that. You know, this is a game that's really inconsequential for them. Now, it is their final home game. You know, they're going to do the whole, homecoming senior day thing here at Northern Illinois for this game. So, but still, it doesn't totally eradicate the fact that this game pretty much means absolutely zip to them with the MAC championship game coming up next week. So it's not a spot I'm looking to take Northern Illinois in. But the other side, it's kind of like Buffalo Ball State. The other side is on a point spread free fall. We talked about Ball State's failed to cover in 4 straight games. Same thing for Western. 0-4 against the spread their last 4 games, and their only win, just like Ball State, Connor, it's like mirror images here, was against Akron during that 4-game stretch, just like with Ball State. So, it's tough to lay more than a field goal with a slumping Western Michigan team. But if I had to bet the side here, I'd still take Western. This is not a spot where I can trust Northern Illinois to bring their A game. They've wrapped up the West Division. They're in the MAC championship game. This feels like get out of this game healthy and get ready for next week if I'm on that Huskies team right now. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, this is one I wouldn't probably play either, but I'd be a little bit different. There's one thing, I think Western, I would not lay the points here. I know there's really nothing for Northern Illinois. They shock again. Like you said, everyone was on Buffalo. They not only, they win by 6, 33-27. Every game, especially close game, they've won this year. It's just they keep winning. All these tight ones, the defense steps up just when it has to, like it did last week. So with 3 in the hook here, I know it's kind of meaningless, but there's no way I wanted Western here on the road laying the 3 in the hook. So I could only look Northern Illinois here in the 3.5. I'm probably not going to bet it, but I'd grab the points. This team just continues to do it, and why not? You're right, it is meaningless, but you always, you don't want to shit the bed here the last game going into that championship. You know what I mean? It's not a good look, especially when you're at home. So give me the home dog if I were here. Give me the 3.5. Maybe lean under. I mean, the total is high. Northern Illinois seems like they make enough plays to keep the total under 60 in a lot of their ball games. So I take the points. I lean under here a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate the taking Northern Illinois again because look, they've been great at home too. I mean, they have, and they're catching more than a field goal. And Western, what are they going to bring to the table here in this game? They've already got bowl eligibility. They're 6-5, so if they drop to 6-6, it's not a big deal. They're already in a bowl game. So, and final home game, maybe you want to show up, even though you're already in the MAC championship game next week if you're Northern Illinois. So that's what's going to make this week, Connor, fascinating to handicap, because you've got to take the situation into account with a lot of these games. What do teams have to play for, or do they have to play for anything? That's a big part of the handicap this week.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge part of it, and it's going to keep me off probably a bunch of games and make you look double ends, because I'm kind of feeling like shit this morning, and it'll make me go through everything again in a day or two, and again every single day with everything going on. So yeah, let's roll the next one. We're ready to roll.
All right, we move to Thursday college football. We've got Fresno State and San Jose State, Mountain West action here. A Thursday afternoon Thanksgiving Mountain West game. Don't see that often. Usually they try to avoid playing a Thursday afternoon game going competition with the NFL, but we got one here. Fresno and San Jose State. Fresno State 7-point road favorites, 52 the total in this game. Obviously, this is a huge game for Fresno State. Must win this game in order to keep alive any chances of winning the West Division in the Mountain West Conference. If they win this game, that means San Jose State's got to beat Boise, and we'll talk about that game on Friday in order to make the Mountain West Championship game. A Fresno win and a San Diego State loss means that Fresno State is in the Mountain West Championship game. So, but first things first, they got to win this game here against San Jose State, and then they just got to hope for some help from Boise on Friday. So they got to win this game, but do they have to win this game by more than a touchdown? No. That's the big question. You got to lay a touchdown here on the road with Fresno in this game. Their pass offense all year has been great. We've talked about it with Jake Haener, Ronnie Rivers, outstanding running back. I mean, just a terrific balanced offense, 461 total yards per game. Very impressive. Like I say, they can run it, they can throw it. San Jose State this year defensively, their run defense has been good. They're a little bit weaker against the pass based on the numbers. You look at San Jose State's defense, they're only 63rd in the country against the pass, 225 passing yards per game. So this could be a spot where you have success if you're Jake Haener in this Fresno offense in this game. And I would expect them to here. They're coming off a 34-7 win against New Mexico. Both teams, by the way, coming off a bye week. But I can't get out of my head, Connor, the fact that whenever San Jose State's played a good offense that can throw the ball, a passing offense that's pretty good, they've been ripped apart at times. I remember the Nevada game they lost. They gave up 27 to Carson Strong and the Wolfpack. They gave up 30 points early in the season to Slovis in the USC passing game. They gave up 48 points before the bye week to Utah State, another team that can throw the football very well. Well, guess what? They're going to see a lot of that from Haener and Fresno here. So it doesn't feel like that San Jose State secondary can hold up because I haven't seen enough evidence that their secondary can play well against a good passing game this year. So I would only look Fresno, especially with everything they have to play for. Just a question of do you want to lay a touchdown? What do you think here, C-Mac?
You nailed it. Nailed it right on the head. Just, do you want to lay the 7? Now it's 7 and a hook. I even see an 8, a few 8s popping up. This is, money's here on Fresno. You're right. San Jose State has difficulty with teams against the pass, and I think Haener will have no problem. Those last few weeks, the tough loss to UNR, then they kind of got their ass whipped, blown out by Utah State. They had the bye. Can they give one last stand? I don't want it. It's just, it feels like a little bit. I lean Fresno here. I lean over a little bit if they keep having trouble with the pass, because I think they'll be able to score a little bit. But a Fresno defense that's gotten better as the year's gone out, especially in situations, in certain stands, stuff like that. I still don't think they're, this defense is elite, but it can get by. So I lean Fresno. I lean the over a little bit. It hit 52.5 in this one.
And Fresno, by the way, 4-1 against the spread on the road this year. So they've been very good away from home, cashing tickets. So this is Fresno or pass for me. And obviously they win this game, that they're still alive for the Mountain West Championship game. And then they're going to become Boise fans in a big way on Friday when they take on San Diego State. All right, the other game on Thursday in college football, Egg Bowl time. Always Thursday night, Thanksgiving, usually on a Thursday is when we get this game. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Pick 'em -1 here right now with Mississippi State as slight home favorites. 61 the total in this game. This is a very fascinating game to dissect here because you've got obviously Ole Miss that's 9-2. They're playing good. They've had a good season overall. The only losses were Auburn and Alabama, both on the road, so no shame in either of those losses. But here comes Mississippi State, with 5 straight point spread covers. Their only loss during that stretch straight up was against Arkansas, 31-28. They beat Auburn very impressively, coming back from a big deficit, and it was just an onslaught from Will Rogers and that air raid attack of Mississippi State in the second half against Auburn in that game. Very impressive comeback win there. They have the road win against Texas A&M on their resume, so they've had some pretty impressive results lately as well. The key, of course, is how is that Ole Miss defense against the pass? And they're actually worse against the run this year. They're a little bit better against the pass, which might help them a little bit here in this game against Mississippi State's defense. But here's the concern for me, Connor. Mississippi State's defense against the run's been terrific, not so good against the pass. And they're going to see pretty much a lot of Matt Corral throwing the football here, running the ball with Ely. I think that's definitely a balanced attack that can give them a little bit of difficulty here in this game. You look at this series history between these two teams. Look, Mississippi State has been pretty good. I mean, in terms of covered 3 straight, 2-1 straight up in the last 3 meetings between these two teams. Last year, Ole Miss won 31-24. So it's a little bit of a revenge spot here, if you will, for Mississippi State. That was the first Leach versus Kiffin battle between these two programs was last year, and Ole Miss was victorious 31-24. It was a pretty high, not a high-scoring game, but you look at it, 55 points. It stayed under. The total was 70.5, but look at the yardage last year when these teams met. You had 550 total yards of offense for Ole Miss, 479 total yards of offense for Mississippi State. That should add up to more than 55 points. And that game stayed under a 70.5. This total 61. I'm looking over in this game. I think the side's pretty tricky because I don't know if I want to step in front of Mississippi State. I'd probably lean Bulldogs. They're playing great. They're at home. They're trying to avenge the loss last year. Ole Miss's 2 defeats this year have been on the road. So I'd lean I'd lean Mississippi State here as a slight home favorite. They pretty much just win the game. You'll cash your ticket if you take them in this price range. But I think I like the total even more than that and would look over this 61 on Thursday night. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Man, I've been high on Mississippi State all year long. And they've won a shitload of tickets for me. I think 4 straight I took them that they took care of business. The only game that was really bad, you talked about they struggled against the passing teams, was Alabama. They got throttled, but a lot of teams have. Ole Miss lost as well to Alabama. Mississippi, that was the ultimate flat spot. I played it, not huge, but I thought they'd be waiting for this game and just get by Vanderbilt, which they did. And all those points with Vandy came in handy. But here, I think this is just going to be a good one. The cowbell's going to be rocking. They want revenge. I think it's going to be tight. Yeah, for the side, there's nothing. And the total is interesting because as you look, I think it's like right on. Ole Miss has played unders. Ole Miss has played 6 straight unders. Some of these have been extremely high.
Yep.
A&M was 57, but a lot in the 67, 65. But their defense has played well, and the offense just hasn't been maybe as electric, other than that Arkansas game where we're seeing 50 points, stuff like that. So I think the total's right there. I think it can go either way because both these defenses can make stops. So I'm not so ready just to fly on the over. Yeah. So I think the number's right there. And then obviously on the sides, it's just pick them laying 1 here with Mississippi State. I lean them a little bit of revenge, but this is one I think to watch. Not much of a betting angle for me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And this is one of the best Egg Bowl matchups in years. I mean, this is one of where both teams have been ascending, both in the top 25 right now. This is definitely one of the more anticipated Egg Bowl rivalry matchups between the 2 Mississippi schools here. So it's a great game Thursday night. It really is. It'll be fun to watch and see how it all unfolds. I don't know about as we turn our attention now to NFL for Thursday on Thanksgiving. I don't know if this is going to be as fun and exciting to watch, but we'll talk about it anyway. Chicago Bears and the winless Detroit Lions. Chicago 3.5-point road favorites, 41.5 the total in this game. The Chicago Bears, man, they had everything looks like ready to go for them yesterday. No Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley ends up starting. They end up, leading the game late, and typical Bears cannot finish the game, cannot seal the win. Baltimore comes back, gets the 16-13 win, and now we got to worry about the health status of Justin Fields, who had a rib issue, suffered in that game against Baltimore, and he's questionable for this game. Andy Dalton had to take over for the Bears against the Ravens in that game, and we'll see who ends up having to start here. I think on a short week, Connor, because this is a Sunday to Thursday turnaround, that doesn't bode well for Justin Fields and his ability to maybe get back on the field and start for the Bears in this game. All the Detroit Lions do, on the other hand, is find a way to hang in games, battle to the end, down to the wire, just give it their all. And they've given themselves a chance to win multiple times and just fell short. And they did it again against Cleveland, 13-10, tied Pittsburgh 16-all the week before in that overtime game. The one thing I've noticed about Detroit, though, is the 2 games after their bye week, Connor, they've looked revitalized, refreshed. They've been better in terms of their defense has really picked it up. That's what I've been impressed with the Lions. Where's this defense come from all of a sudden? That's 2 weeks in a row against the Browns and Steelers. They've played very well on the defensive side of the ball. And I'll say this right now, Chicago's offense ain't Pittsburgh's. It ain't Cleveland's. So this should be a manageable matchup for the Detroit defense, which has improved in the 2 games following the bye week. I'm leaning dog. I'm leaning under right now in this game between the Bears and the Lions. And I would look in both directions. I think Detroit's live. I don't think they want nothing more than to give what better way for the Detroit Lions team to treat this fan base that has just suffered so much for decades. Give thanks to this fan base that's still standing by you when you've been so bad for all these years. Give thanks by giving them a win. Give thanks by giving them their first win of the season. No better way to do that on Thanksgiving than right here in this spot at home. I think they've got a real shot for win number 1 here. Give me the Lions as a home dog. Lean under as well. What do you think?
Easier said than done there, Ian. I think all Lion fans want that. So they don't, go winless again. And the tie is not a win. That doesn't mean shit. So I think this is their shot too. I'd be shocked the way Fields, left. I don't think he's going to start in this game. Why? In a few days, you have Dalton. back there is just ho-hum. I'm with you. There's no way both. This is ugly. This is a tough one. It's not one I might not even bet. But I'm with you. With 3 in the hook, this is the Lions Super Bowl. All the eyes are on, even though, what are they placed in the game? Are they the early game?
Yeah, 12:30. The first
Yeah, the
game, as it
earlier
always is,
one.
Fox Television. Buck and Aikman are going to be there. They'd never in a million years do a Bears-Lions game this year, but because it's the Thanksgiving game,
Yes.
they've got to do it.
Yeah, it's the
If
early
this is
one.
Sunday, 4 o'clock, Conor Mac, there is no shot, none, zero, that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are doing the Bears and Lions if this is on a Sunday at 4 o'clock. No way.
Well, we'll just be quick because we're going to be with Jimmy tomorrow. We're going to go into detail about these games, so we'll just be fast. Yeah, to me, it's take the Lions in the 3.5. I don't love it. We'll get into all the injuries and more into that shit tomorrow. But, yeah, and then lean under. This has already got hit. I wish I was on both these unders right away. I had small, but I go, wow, I wish I had, a lot more money on that Ravens, Bears, and Browns, Lions games than I had. So I was kicking myself really hard. So even at 41.5, I don't know if it can get there. And, yeah, lean on. This is their Super Bowl, Lions Super Bowl. All these teams lost, too. These 2 teams lost. We'll get right to the next one. So a bunch of losers right before the big game on Thanksgiving.
Wasn't that freaky that every team playing on Thanksgiving Thursday in the NFL lost on Sunday? Every single one, all 6 of them that are playing on Thanksgiving Thursday lost on Sunday. Pretty amazing. Pretty weird that happened. Las Vegas and Dallas. We got Dallas 7-point home favorites, 51.5 the total in this game. By the way, Jared Goff, of course, didn't play it for Detroit against Chicago. Tim Boyle might have to be the quarterback again, but obviously it. If you saw Goff play against Pittsburgh, that's not a big deal if he doesn't play. Boyle to me was all right. I mean, obviously made a couple mistakes, but they haven't been throwing the football much anyway, Detroit. Anyway, Las Vegas, Dallas 7-point home favorites, 51 the total in this game. This is tricky because the injuries are mounting for Dallas. I'll just say that they are ravaged on both sides of the ball. Gregory and Lawrence on the defensive line are banged up. They didn't play yesterday. Cooper on COVID protocol. Normally, you're on that list for a week, but guess what? You're playing Thursday now. So there's a chance he may not be able to come back in time for this game on Thursday because it's usually a 1-week minimum you've got to spend on that COVID list. And now CeeDee Lamb left the game against Kansas City on Sunday with an injury as well. So this is a banged-up Dallas team right now, both sides of the ball, and it's impacting the offense. The offensive line as well struggled a little bit yesterday with some of the injuries they've got there. They couldn't protect Prescott. Kansas City was in on him that entire game. So not only do you have the injuries mounting for the Cowboys, both sides of the football, you also have a long-term track record that is as old as time that the Dallas Cowboys laying significant points at home on Thanksgiving is a money-burning proposition. Last year, they get bombed by Washington at home on Thanksgiving. 2 years ago, Buffalo goes in there on Thanksgiving and drills the Cowboys. It's just something that I'm not looking to do, is lay points, especially a touchdown or more, with the Dallas Cowboys at home on Thanksgiving. They have not been good the last couple of years in these Thanksgiving home games. But here's the problem. Can you make a case for the Raiders right now? Because this season is falling apart for them before our very eyes. They've got issues. They have no speed at receiver with Ruggs now since he had that car accident incident. The Brian Edwards is dropping passes left and right. Renfro and Waller are the only 2 guys that can make plays in the passing game, and they're getting double teamed all the time because they don't respect anybody else in that receiving core for the Raiders. The defense is falling apart again. There's just a ton of issues. They've lost 3 straight. They look like they're in a fog since the Henry Ruggs situation happened. It's not a coincidence to me they've lost all 3 games since Ruggs just decided to be an idiot and do what he did. So there's issues with the Raiders. It's a leap of faith getting to back them right now. So your guess is as good as mine what to do with this game. I say just stay away. We'll get into this more on Tuesday with Jimmy, but this is a tough one early in the week to really prognosticate. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, this is a tough one. The Cowboys, maybe the injuries are starting to creep up. You just saw how bad the Falcons were. And they got their ass whipped, by the Patriots. So maybe that win wasn't that crazy. The Falcons are just getting that bad. And then there was the ultimate flat spot going to Kansas City. He was playing a lot better, getting healthier, defense playing better, all that good shit. And they kicked their ass. And the offense didn't look good at all. This is a tough one. I know a lot of people are going to bet Dallas. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and they're right now 7-3, and they're darling. So a lot of people will lay this 7. I'm not. A big key yesterday was it was just field goals. I thought that was one of the better overs, the Raiders Bengals, and it fell short. I think if those field goals weren't kicked, and the Raiders defense did hang early a little bit. They finally wore out of gas in the end there. But Derek Carr, no passes downfield like you talked about. You double Waller. It's just everything's a mess. They got to push the ball downfield, especially in this day and age. They throw a flag so freaking easily for PI. I always say those 3rd down and longs, just chuck it up. It's like a punt. They pick it off. Screw it. But yeah, this is a tough one to back the Raiders here too. Now the total is dropped. Maybe it drops a little bit more, then you take the over here. If you can get this at 49 or something like that, 49.5, and we see some points, because I still don't think both defenses are that great. And it's just, can the Raiders score? I thought that offense could score a little bit. It was horrible yesterday. That one drive, 3-play touchdown. Other than that, garbage. So, yeah, tough one here. Not one I'm crazy to bet on.
Yeah, this could be a spot, and someone in the chat mentioned it. It's a good point. Just run the football. I mean, with Lamb out, with Cooper probably out again, maybe just run the football with Pollard and Zeke, and you should be fine, because you're right. The Raiders' run defense the last 3 games has fallen off again, a little bit, and we saw Joe Mixon, in the second half, especially for the Bengals, just run amok against that Raiders team. So that could be what they do. Just commit to the run game more, and don't look now. Remember Dallas over, as you like to say, Conor Mac, earlier in the season? 4 straight unders now for them. So keep that in mind. And I think that's what they see. The unders taking a lot of money here in this game. My apologies, Rob Garvey in the chat saying I never got back to a DM. Send me a DM again on Twitter, Rob. I'll get back this time. There's 10 million people that send me shit and DM on Twitters every day, DMs on Twitter every day. So it's hard to keep up with it all. So I always miss one or two, but send it again, and I'll make sure I get back to you. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and New Orleans. We've got the Bills, 4.5-point road favorites, 47 the total in this game. The one thing Buffalo's got going for them, and boy, they had nothing going for them against Indy. That was just a beatdown, start to finish. Couldn't stop the run. Jonathan Taylor, they couldn't complete a pass. Interceptions from Josh Allen, special teams debacle, missed field goals. Fumble on the kick return by McKenzie, which set up a Colts touchdown inside the 5-yard line. That was a complete 3-phase debacle for the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. Offense, defense, special teams. All 3 areas of football failed them miserably on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. So can they bounce back here on a short week? I'll say this for the Bills. Maybe they need to get away. Bond as a team on the road for Thanksgiving. Obviously, the team's going to spend, Thanksgiving holiday with each other now, the players. It can't hurt the Buffalo Bills to be playing this Thursday game on the road as opposed to at home. And so, yeah, you could say there's some tricky thought process here, or it's tough to maybe trust the Bills laying 4.5, but can we really trust the New Orleans Saints as well? This is an offense that, especially if they don't have Alvin Kamara again, Alvin Kamara is just so important to this offense. Did you see what it looked like for them against Philly on Sunday? Simeon looks lost. He's not a number 1 quarterback. He's just not. All right? He's not, and he's shown you that now a couple weeks in a row. Mark Ingram's now your lead back, and he would have been a decent option as your lead back 5-6 years ago. Not anymore for this New Orleans Saints team. The defense is been pretty good most of the season, but yesterday when you're going 3-and-out punt all the time, you wear down that defense, and the Eagles and Jalen Hurts were able to take over. So this is another one where it's tough to really trust either of these kind of slumping teams right now, teams going in the wrong direction a little bit. Buffalo losing 2 of their last 3. The Saints now are starting to trend downward, but the one thing about Buffalo, they've had a loss. They've played much better after a loss in the last couple of tries where they've been off a bad game. So I guess I'd lean Buffalo, but I can't say I'm giddy at the prospects of laying 4.5 on the road on a short week. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kamara's going to come back. I on this short week, because one thing, they rushed for over 200 yards, just gashed the Bills. And then Allen had 2 picks. He looked horrible, in that game. One thing the Eagles were able to do, they ran for like 250 yards on the Saints. Just ran all over them. Sanders, and the Eagles aren't, other than Hurts, you think about, him running around. they're not a great rushing team. Howard had 63, Sanders had 94, Scott had 16, and Hurts had 69. So they just ran all over the Saints. To me, if these defense play like this, I think the total is a little light. Are these going to be two different teams? Thanksgiving, primetime game, maybe. So yeah, I don't love it. And Simeon, you talked about it. He's just a backup here. I like the points a little bit with New Orleans. I know Buffalo's been big off a loss, but I don't know. They're 6-4. I don't think they're a very good football team. They're not complete. They don't run the football. And now the defense looked horrible. The defense was hanging their hat pretty, good. They just got gashed by Taylor and a Colts team that's playing really, really well. So I don't love it here. If I had to, I'd lean the points with the Saints, but this is one I'm rushing to the window here either with.
All right, let's go to Friday, college football. A big Black Friday slate of college football action. We'll start with Ohio and Bowling Green. Ohio 5.5-point road favorites, 48 the total in this game. Again, 2, 3, and 8 teams. And look, Ohio's been a point spread machine until last week where they lost by 12 to Toledo. Finally didn't cover a number, but they've still been pretty good in terms of covering point spreads. 5-2 ATS their last 7 games. But now here they are laying points for only, I believe, the third time this year. Now, the last time in MAC play they did lay points, it actually was on the road as well. It was at Akron. They were 10-point road favorites. They won 34-17. So they did show a way to cover that number, but can they do it here? Bowling Green, it is their home finale. Do you rise up and play are you motivated and fired up to play your final home game, even though you're just a 3-8 team that's not going bowling? I don't know. I mean, they've lost 83-24 combined score the last 2 games against Miami O and Toledo. I mean, that's tough to get behind this team, even though it is their final home game, and even though they are a home underdog here against a team that maybe we don't trust laying points on the road. So it's a really tough game. I don't see any reason to get involved with it personally. Any thoughts here, Connor? Ohio BG.
Yeah, I won't be involved in this either. If I had to, I'd lay it with Ohio on the road. The total's pretty low, too. But I don't know if that gets here either. The Bowling Green defense is kind of falling apart. And their last game, they didn't score anything. They just got blown out by Miami, Ohio, 34-7. So this is an ugly one. Ohio want to be catching points. They couldn't get the cover last week. They lost by 12. I think they could have, and they didn't. Bowling Green, this is the team that we all thought they were. I think they played over their heads early in the year. They covered a bunch of numbers, even won some games they weren't supposed to. Now they look like shit. So difficult for me to even take the points here at Bowling Green. I'd lay it with Ohio, the 5.5 for pass.
All right, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. We've got the Chippewas, 8.5-point home favorites here, 64 the total in this game. We've got Eastern Michigan. They played Western Michigan, won outright as a 6-point underdog last week, 22-21. They've put it together. 3 of their last 4 games they've won. The only loss was to Ohio, kind of a bad loss, but they made up for it, beating Toledo 52-49, beating down Bowling Green 55-24. And again, I'm going to say this once again, because I think we said this. We talked Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan. Connor and I both liked Eastern in that game getting points. Eastern in MAC play has 3 losses, and all 3 losses by 8 points or less. Where is the evidence that this team's getting blown out here? To me, I'm a little mystified that this point spread is where it is. Now, I understand Centrals look good. 3 weeks in a row, 12-point win against Western, 24-point win against Kent State, 20-point win at Ball State, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread. They're red hot. McElwain's team's playing their best football of the year right now. There's no doubt about that. And Daniel Richardson's throwing the ball well. Lou Nichols running the ball. It's a balanced team. Khalil Pimpleton's a great receiver. No doubt about it for this Central team. If you watch Central Michigan football, and I've seen them a bunch, especially the last month with these weeknight games, he's a hell of a receiver. But you're still laying 8.5. It's a rivalry game, directional school rivalry in the state of Michigan. And all this Eastern Michigan team does under Chris Creighton is cover point spreads as an underdog. So I think you know where I'm headed in this game. It's EMU plus the points. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I wanted a little bit more. I wanted over 10 here. But we talk about it, Eastern catching the points. This is where you want them, and playing Central, this rivalry here. One thing, though, Central, they took all the money, went through 0. Everyone was on them. they've just been rolling. The offense is humming. The defense is doing enough. It's giving up some points, but when you're scoring 40, 50, 37, 17, defense doesn't have to be really elite here. I don't know if it gets there. I lean over, but 64 is a lot in this game. And Eastern, at times, their offense isn't amazing. I lean the points. I don't know if I bet this one. This is the roll. I like Eastern Michigan, but Central, this is the best. They've been good all year, but they've been really rolling the last, 6 to 7 weeks. Other than that 1-point loss in Northern Illinois, 39-38. So, yeah, I lean to the points here.
Yeah, it should be high scoring. I would lean over. I mean, Eastern's defense is still very much shaky. No question about that. And Central's offense has got it rolling the last 3 weeks. That would be the concern here. But I think I'd lean over still with the total. And like I said, I know Central's rolling. It's tough to step in front of Central right now. But it seems like when you take points with, Eastern versus Central or Central versus Western or Western versus Eastern, you're taking the underdog in these in-state rivalry games in this MAC conference. You're usually going to win more often than not, I find. So I still like the points here with EMU. Boise State, San Diego State. We've got Boise State 2.5-point road favorites, 44 the total. Now for San Diego State, it's important. I'd wait to bet this game, to be honest with you, because, if San Diego State comes into this game, if Fresno somehow loses to San Jose State the day before on Thursday, and San Diego State's not going to need to win this game to win that division and be in the Mountain West Championship game. So keep that in mind. But if Fresno does beat San Jose State, which I think they will, this will become a must-win for San Diego State. They will have to win this game against Boise State to be in the Mountain West Championship game. We'll see how it goes here. I'm surprised this team's 10-1. I don't know how they've done it. Their only loss was to Fresno, which is why Fresno's in the Mountain West Championship game, because they beat San Diego State head-to-head, and they'd be tied in conference record if Fresno wins and San Diego State loses. But because Fresno beat San Diego State head-to-head, that's the tiebreaker. And that's why Fresno would get the Mountain West Championship game if San Diego State loses here. Boise, I'll tell you what, this is a dangerous game for San Diego State because Boise has found their game. It struggled early in the season for Andy Avalos and this Boise team. But look at the way they played. 4 straight weeks, Bachmeier and the offense are starting to heat up. Throwing the football has become better for them. And really, since they got the big running back, the bell cow, George Halani back the last few weeks, that's really when this Boise offense started to get rolling. They have balance in their offense now that they can run it with him. And this defense is starting to look like those really good Boise State defenses of old. They have given up now fewer than 20 points in 4 straight games, 4 straight wins in that span. And now just, to me, this is a game Boise can win. And I think Boise, when you look at them, I think they're still fired up to maybe play spoiler here if this game has to mean something to the San Diego State Aztecs. So I'm definitely leaning to the Boise State side here. Again, must win doesn't equal will win. It's one of the best phrases I have in sports. You don't just bet a team because they have to win the game. It doesn't always work out that way. And if San Diego State has to win this game, they've got a red-hot Boise team coming into their building here, and I think a team that will give them a very, very tough game right now. So I'm leaning Boise right now, regardless of whether San Diego State needs the game or not. Conor Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I need a little bit more here. I don't love 2.5. I lean the other way with San Diego State just a bit. Boise's really killed. You talked about it. As soon as they started to get the running game going, they've been really killing it. Because all they do, and they had it was non-existent. They didn't run the football at all. They were just Bachmeier throwing it. I wrote these down. I know the total is 45, 44.5. A lot of places. To me, this is just an under. Still at that number, I think it's good. Boise 6 straight unders. San Diego State 6-2 in conference play to the under. They played a few overs early in the season. Kind of freaked me out. They were scoring a bunch of points there, but I'd be all over the under here. I think the defenses shine in this game, and I think it's kind of a coin flip. I could see Boise winning by a touchdown or more. Maybe San Diego State scrapping it out. Tough one here for me. Yeah, tough one on the side, but under.
All right, we have Kansas State and Texas. Texas 2.5-point home favorites, 52 the total. I ain't laying with Texas. I know it's their final home game, but they're a 4-win team. They can't even be in a bowl game. That is how disappointing this season has turned into for the Texas Longhorns. They cannot even be in a bowl game now. because they'd be 5 wins at most, even if they win this game. I want nothing to do with Texas. Another loss last week. They're now 0-6 straight up in ATS. Their last 6 games, including the just brutal loss to Kansas, absolutely brutal. And even last week, they actually battled. Give them credit against West Virginia, but the defense stinks. They couldn't stop West Virginia when it mattered, and they lost 31-23. Kansas State off a loss to Baylor, but Baylor's damn good, 20-10. Before that, they won 4 in a row, this Kansas State team. It's K-State or pass. I don't even care that this is Texas's home game. What, Texas's home game? They're going to be fired up, disappointing run, 6 straight losses, can't even be in a bowl game, and you expect me to buy that they're going to be fired up for this home game? I'm not buying that. Kansas State or pass for me. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I took Texas really all year. I ain't taking them now. No freaking way. Yeah, Sarkisian, it doesn't look good for him. I don't know what's going to have to do to turn that program around. They got all that money in the world, and they just keep losing football games. Yeah, that was a tough one. A lot of people like K-State. I just stuck with the under. I didn't want to take the side at a pick 'em. Baylor played great. Both defenses played great. K-State's the better team with the better defense right now. So, yeah, and what's Texas going to be up for? Nothing. I mean, they're not, go to a bowl game. They have nothing to do. To me, it's K-State or pass. Nothing on the total here.
All right, Utah State, New Mexico. We've got Utah State 15.5-point road favorites, 49.5 being the total in this game. Of course, for Utah State, 5-2, 3-way tie atop the Mountain Division here. Boise State, Air Force, Utah State. There's all kinds of tiebreakers that are going to factor into this as well. But one of these 3 teams is going to be your Mountain Division champion. So obviously a lot at stake here for Utah State. Obviously, I'm not going to be going against them in this spot, and certainly not with a team like New Mexico, who's just had a absolutely dismal season. But, this is some pressure for this team. Blake Anderson's done a remarkable job. Remarkable. And this team on the road's been incredible. 5-0 straight up, 4-1 ATS on the road. So maybe they can go to New Mexico here and just lay a butt whooping here on New Mexico, because look, they have been getting their ass kicked 2 weeks in a row. Boise and Fresno, they lose on the scoreboard 71-7 in those 2 games combined. So this New Mexico team is flat out not one I can back right now. The quarterbacks for New Mexico against Boise last week, like they have no quarterback, none, 0. They've got a quarterback on the field, but none of them can play. None of them. 2 for 7 throwing the football. They're not even trying to throw the football in New Mexico. I mean, that's how bad their offense is. It's one-dimensional. It's only the run game, and it's been shut down repeatedly, the run game here. Now, Utah State, their run defense is not the greatest, but boy, you should just stack the box if you're Blake Anderson here. Even with a mediocre run defense like Utah State has, stack the box and just stop the run and dare this passing game to do something, because it hasn't done anything. It hasn't done shit all year for this New Mexico team. So it's Utah State or pass. A lot of points. I'll probably pass, but Utah State obviously still playing to be in the Mountain West Championship game here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Utah State or pass, but that run defense I don't love. Yeah, they just need to stack it, because New Mexico, they scored 17 against UNLV, but these, 0 last week, 7 to Fresno, 3 to Wyoming, 7 to Colorado State, 7 to San Diego State. This offense is putrid, pathetic. I can't believe they beat Wyoming. I mean, that's what Wyoming was doing that day. I was at Wyoming. It was ugly. I'd lay it. I'm not going to do it just because that run defense is a little shaky, but they should be able to throw all over them and get a 2-touchdown cover, I think, here. So I lean Utah State as well.
All right, we have Iowa, Nebraska. It looks like we've got Nebraska, 2.5-point home favorites in this game, 44.5 the total. How insane is it that Nebraska's 3-8 this season? Iowa's 9-2 this season. Who's favored in the game? The 3-8 team. Go figure. Nebraska's favored in this game. And that's the problem, Connor. Nebraska's always shown up the last few years for this rivalry game on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, against Iowa. They've always shown up and they've played hard every single time. The last 3 meetings, 31-28 Iowa, 27-24 Iowa, 26-20 Iowa, down to the wire, all 3 games. And Nebraska covered those 3. But here's the problem. They were 7.5-point dogs in one of them, 4-point dogs in one of them, 12-point dogs in one of them. Now they're favored. And I can't get behind Nebraska here as favorites in this game. I can't. If anything, now I think they've devalued Iowa a little bit because, look, Iowa's looked unimpressive offensively. I know they beat Illinois, but another non-cover. They're 1-4 ATS their last 5 games. They don't have a great offense, obviously. They rely on that defense. It's been a struggle to move the ball for them, especially with Petrus out. Alex Padilla hasn't exactly lit it up through the air. Everybody's keying in on Goodson right now, trying to stop that Iowa run game. But boy, I mean, they've made an adjustment here. It's pretty shocking to me, actually, that Nebraska's favored here. And I know Nebraska gives Iowa their best every year, the last few, but the value ain't there to back Nebraska. If I had to, I'll take Iowa, but not sure I'll get involved. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no freaking way I'm going to lay 3.5 with Nebraska and Martinez. I've seen this guy's been there 10 years. And I know they've been competitive in games, but they haven't won any games. Now you expect them to win by more than a field goal here? No way. And this isn't one of the best Iowa teams, but they can still pound it. The defense is solid. I could only take the 3.5, and I'd only lean under. I mean, this could get over, but I think both defenses come to play. I don't think I'm going to touch the total, but I lean under.
All right, we've got UTEP and UAB. UAB 13.5-point home favorites, 49 the total in this one. And yeah, time to bring that axe out. This is one of the bets I've already made this week. We're going mining for units, mining for profits here with UTEP this week. Give me the points here. This is hangover central for UAB written all over it. How do you show up? How do you get off the bus to play this football game after the way you lost your shot at being in the Conference USA Championship game? Just a gut-wrenching, just a heartbreaking loss against UTSA. Heartbreaking. Tip deflected pass ends up in the arms of the UTSA player in the end zone. Touchdown with seconds left. UTSA gets the win, breaks UAB's heart, and now they're not in the Conference USA Championship game. Now you're going to lay 13.5 with this team against a UTEP team that all they do is cover numbers as dogs this year and be competitive most of the year, a resurgent year for their standards from Dana Dimmel and this Miners team. I mean, you just cannot lay the doubles here in a spot like this, at least not in my opinion. So I'm on UTEP here with the points. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, shout out to UTSA, Jose, jumping around there, win the game, and they got it done.
Check out the footage on the Pub Sports Radio Twitter if you haven't already. Jose, a pretty excited guy from what he saw Saturday in that thriller.
Yeah, UAV's got to be flat here. I wanted over 2 touchdowns. We're almost there. I like UAB, but that was a huge game. And I like UTEP. They lost by 20 to UTSA, but other than that, they've won games and been in games all year long. They got the cover last week, barely, but they got it. I take the 2 touchdowns too with UTEP. I mean, I'm mining for units with you, man. Take them.
That's right. And remember, as home favorites, it's not been great for UAB lately. They got blown out by Liberty. They lost outright as huge 23.5-point home favorites to Rice. And I think they pushed or they barely covered against Louisiana Tech in their last home game, UAB. So they've not been great as home favorites. And obviously this has hangover written all over it here against UTEP for this UAB team, in my opinion. North Carolina, NC State. We've got NC State 6.5-point home favorites, 63 the total here in this game. When you look at this one, North Carolina, disappointing season, but that hasn't stopped them from really battling the last couple of games. The Wake Forest game, they were up for that. They beat Wake. They gave Pittsburgh everything they could handle and lost in overtime in that rain-soaked, wet Thursday night game a few weeks ago. Obviously, they beat up Wofford 34-14 over the weekend, facing an FCS foe. NC State 41-17 drubbing over Syracuse on Saturday. Very impressive from them. This is a tricky one because I think NC State's the better team this year. And look, they have had a tough time against North Carolina the last 2 years. I mean, North Carolina's blown them out 2 years in a row. This is a senior-laden team, NC State. I think they remember that. I think this team is going to bring their all in this game, the Wolfpack, and they've certainly got the much better defense. There's no debate whatsoever. But do you want to lay 6.5 here in a rivalry game? That is the big question. It's not like we've seen North Carolina, Sam Howell, and this team roll over and play dead the last few weeks, even though it's been a disappointing season from what the preseason expectations were. So, yeah, I think NC State wins the game. I lean their side, but Don't know if I'm going to get there laying 6.5. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's that 6.5. It's just like Pittsburgh, that in that game, and they were up early, kind of let the lead go. Do you want to lay North? The Wolfpack are the better team here, like you talked about, with the better defense. There hasn't been a real make me want to pull the trigger and back North Carolina all year. I know it's a rivalry game. I don't want it here. I'd want over a touchdown because that defense is so freaking bad that I need a lot more points than even just 6.5 here. I get Howe might be able to score, there, but I just can't do it. I lean NC State in this one, and I guess the over. I'm not going to get involved, but I lean that way.
I lean over too because I remember NC State's game against Wake Forest, and they let Wake Forest dictate the pace and the tempo, and Wake Forest pulled NC State into a high-scoring shootout, and I think North Carolina might do the same here in this one. And last year when these teams met, there were 69 points, and this total is only 63, so I would absolutely lean over the total here. Missouri and Arkansas. Arkansas, 14.5-point home favorites, 63 the total in this one. I think it's a bet against spot for both teams. Missouri is off a huge win against Florida that sent Dan Mullen packing, led to his firing over the weekend. And then Arkansas is off, giving it their all pretty much against Alabama. I mean, stood toe-to-toe with the Crimson Tide for much of that game on Saturday. Fake field goals being called by Sam Pittman in the fourth quarter. Crazy stuff. I mean, they pulled out all the stops, Arkansas, in that game against Alabama. How do they respond now? Big game like that, gave Alabama everything they could handle, and now you got to play on a little bit of a short week on a Friday and laid more than 2 touchdowns at home against Missouri. And the thing with Missouri is their offense is good enough to have backdoor potential in this kind of price range. So it's a difficult one. Probably stay off the side. As far as the total goes, it could get there with the over. Arkansas has been trending over suddenly in a few games lately. And Missouri, we know they've been an over team much of the year, so maybe we see points. I would lean in that direction over the total. Connor, what do you think?
I'll be quick here. I just don't love this game. Like you talked about, Arkansas gate, everything they could. They just couldn't beat Alabama, but got the cover. They're easily by a touchdown. I don't want to lay over 2 touchdowns now. Missouri isn't very good. That defense is still bad. They've just been playing a little better. They got a win. They beat Florida, even though that's a whole other story, how bad Florida has gone down the toilet. But I lean Arkansas. Just this part of the year, I don't want to be laying 2 touchdowns if I don't have to. Even, I don't want to be throwing my money around, so it's just a lean.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up, we've got South Florida, Central Florida. This used to be a huge rivalry, and both teams were great at the same time for a few years. Now that's not the case. Central Florida, 18-point home favorite, 62 being the total in this one. What do we make of South Florida? Because this team was being competitive and hanging in games and playing a little bit better. They hung in there against Cincy and Houston, and they beat Temple and, somewhat competitive against East Carolina. And then they had that game Saturday against a struggling Tulane team, and they get eviscerated 45-14. So what do we make of that? Was that they've run out of gas, or was that just maybe a look ahead to this game? It is a rivalry. Playing Central Florida is probably one of the biggest games on the schedule this year for South Florida. Can they respond is the question here. I'm interested to see what the Bulls are saying going into this game in terms of, where they're at after the Tulane loss, because that's alarming. And you give up 45 points and you get absolutely beaten down like that by Tulane, who's had a rough year. Can they bounce back here? Because I'm looking to make a case for South Florida. Rivalry game, getting 18 points. I don't trust, a UCF offense led by Mikey Keene to be laying, more than 2 touchdowns in a game like this, a rivalry spot, even though he played a little bit better last week. But look who he played against. He played UConn. We do have to calm down with, oh, wow, look how good the offense played in that game. You were up against a horrible Connecticut defense. So I think we need to calm down a little bit with that. So early in the week, I'm leaning USF plus 18. We'll see later in the week if it's enough to be a bet for me, but I don't know. I mean, the Tulane performance is alarming, but it just could have been a flat spot, and now they're up for a rivalry setting like this against UCF. And let's be honest, before that loss to Tulane, South Florida had been mildly competitive in a lot of recent games, and if they're mildly competitive here, they're going to cover the number. Simple as that. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, it seemed tricky. All of a sudden they were down to a 5.5 point dog, last week to a Tulane team that had some talent but can't get any wins for sure. And then they just get their ass whipped. I mean, that was like 35-0 quick. And that game was over. It was 45-14 was the final. Central with Keene, they're not a team I want to lay, 19 points with. But yeah, how bad was that loss? I know they should be up for this. This is a rivalry. I'm with you. I want to take the points with South Florida here. It's pretty ugly. After getting their ass kicked, I don't know too many people want to jump right back on them, but this is more the spread I want them. 18, 21, 25, whatever the frick. I don't want 5 against Tulane. They got a little too happy with them there. So I'm with you. I'm leaning South Florida in this game, catching the points.
And you mentioned it. It's where the number is. It's where the
Yep.
price is, and that's double-digit dogs. I'm looking back on it right now. South Florida this year, double-digit dogs. I've got them at 1, 2-1, 3-1. I've got them at 4-1 against the spread. Their last 5 this season as double-digit underdogs. So there you go, 4-1. ATS is double-digit dogs. So certainly it lines up with where this number is, that South Florida might be the side you look at here in this game. I might just push that bad, and it was bad, that Tulane game to the side and say, you know what, Central Florida is not good enough to be offensively with Keene to lay this number. And I think South Florida's got a much better game, and I think a game they're more excited about, let's be honest. Tulane, they couldn't give two shits about that game. I think they will care about this game here against Central Florida. All right, we got Coastal Carolina, South Alabama. Coastal Carolina, 14.5-point road favorites, 56.5 the total in this game. Coastal with a 35-21 win against Texas State. But again, they're starting to burn money for their backers. 1-4 ATS, their last 5 games. I'd like to take South Alabama here, but man alive. I mean, the last 2 games, 31-7 to App State, 60-14 to Tennessee. It's been absolutely ugly for them. And to be honest with you, Jake Bentley, not at quarterback, and Desmond Trotter's not been consistent enough for me running this Jaguars offense. So it's a tough one. It's probably a game I'm going to stay off. I think in theory, I want to go against Coastal. They've not been good laying big points lately, but I don't know if South Bama's the team I want to trust to take them. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Coastal, yeah, they've not been trustworthy, whether it's on the road or at home, laying kind of more here than 2 touchdowns. This is their last game. South Alabama, this is it. They get up for that. I want a little bit more than 15. I think Coastal wins. Do they win by 10 or 14, or do they win by 24 or 28? So I want to lean the points with South Alabama. They got their ass whipped by Tennessee, some people thought. And then the game before that, 31-7 to App State. One thing is, Coastal's defense is not that good this year. I mean, South Alabama could score, I think, on them. So that could keep the back door open in this game. So I don't think I'm going to bet it, but I lean South Alabama here in the points.
All right, UNLV Air Force. Air Force, 18-point home favorites, 48.5 the total. This is another one of those games. Must win doesn't always equal will win. Air Force is alive to win their division, along with Boise and Utah State, that 3-way battle to see who's going to be in the Mountain West Championship game. Air Force is alive. But must win doesn't equal will win, and must win doesn't mean we can win, but we got to win by more than 3 win by 3 touchdowns or more here, and that's the thing with Air Force in this kind of price range. And UNLV's defensive strength, if they've got one, believe it or not, it's against the run. They've been pretty decent, believe it or not, against the run. 138.3 yards per carry allowed, 3.8 yards per rush. It's not bad. It's not terrible. And if you look at series history, UNLV Air Force. They haven't played in 3 years, but the last 2 were covered by UNLV. Air Force single-digit victories. You look at UNLV as double-digit dogs. 11.5-point dogs against San Diego State. They only lose by 8. They've been other than the Nevada game, you get this team catching double digits. They've been very good this year catching these kind of points. So this is one of those where, yeah, Air Force needs the game, must win, but must win doesn't mean will win by more than 18 points. So I'm leaning Rebels here. Connor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if you're taking UNLV this year, usually they're, as many losses they have, ATS too. But this year, they've been competitive in a ton of games. And like I said last week, it probably saves him his job. We won a couple and we were close in a bunch of these games. Saves the Royals' job. And I think 18's too many here. UNLV's defense is pretty good. They have some athletes there. I think they'll be able to move the ball against Air Force, because Air Force defense to me is not, great. That was a shootout with Reno. They've given up points all year. So I think it's just too many here. I think 18. I wanted this about 19 or 20, and it was 18. So I'm pretty happy. I'll take the 18 with UNLV.
All right, TCU, Iowa State, Big 12 action. Iowa State, 14.5-point home favorites, 58.5 the total in this one. There's no way I'm laying more than 2 touchdowns with Iowa State at this moment. I mean, a tough loss to Oklahoma, 28-21 over the weekend. How about the shocking decision by Matt Campbell in that game? I mean, we're talking about, it wasn't performance related. I should beg your pardon. It was concussion with Purdy. It wasn't performance related, but they had to go to the backup quarterback because of that. And in that game against Oklahoma, and they really struggled after that. And Purdy may not play. He's questionable. He's in concussion protocol right now for Iowa State. So I guess it would be TCU or nothing, but it's not like TCU's been sparked by they were sparked for 1 week by the coaching change where they played well against Baylor. And after that, they got crushed by Oklahoma State, and then they escaped by the skin of their teeth against Kansas, 31-28 on Saturday. It's not like I'm rushing to take TCU here either. I'm probably going to be right off this game. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I don't want much to do with this one. Iowa State, had high hopes going into the year. And it was a really good morning. The Iowa State was one of the losses that I had. And it wasn't good, and I don't want to lay doubles with him. But you talked about TCU, the big win after the coach Jake Patterson. They finally get him out of there. He's there forever, long overdue, I think a few years. And then just get throttled by Oklahoma State, barely beat Kansas. If I had
I think we lost Connor. There he is. There he is. Connor, we got you.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Rolling?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, there we go. So you're passing on this. Connor's passing on TCU Iowa State. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right. Apple Cup time next up. Washington State and Washington. We got Washington State 1-point road favorites, 44 the total in this one, 43.5. Obviously, when you look at this matchup here, Washington State, it's been obviously a better than expected season from them. They've had to deal with coaching changes as well, and they're still alive, believe it or not, for the Pac-12 North, but they got a lot of things that's got to go their way, essentially. They've got to get to they've got to hope for a bunch of things. They're still alive, but by a thread. But the bottom line is they're out if they lose this game against Washington. I think they probably will win this game. I mean, I looked to see if there were signs of life from Washington. First game after Jimmy Lake gets fired, and they end up losing as favorites to Colorado, although they dominated the box score. They had over 400 total yards. They held Colorado below 200 total yards. So what was the problem? Well, the problem was turnovers. 2 interceptions from Dylan Morris, 2 fumbles lost, -4 in the turnover margin. That's going to kill you when you have turnovers like that. Washington actually played a pretty good game, but they lost because they just couldn't hang on to the football, couldn't take care of it. And that's what you get with a team that's not that great. Mistakes, turnovers are an issue. I thought the effort was good. And I think maybe to play spoiler here in the Apple Cup, you'll see them want to play well and finish strong. But I don't trust Washington. They just can't get out of their own way. The one concern, and why I don't know for sure if I'll end up on Washington State, is this has been a dominated series history for the Huskies. The Huskies have owned this Apple Cup. They've not only won 6 straight and covered 6 straight, but most of these victories all of them have been by double-digit margins. That's a very difficult series history to ignore in this Apple Cup rivalry game that Washington has just dominated it for the last several years. So I think for that reason, my Washington State lean is probably just going to stay that in the lean category. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, but I do have to say, if this is the year, this is it for Washington State. I mean, this is their best team they've had in a while, and this is the shittiest Washington team in years. Talk about bad program right now. The basketball team's horrible too for Washington. Hopkins needs to get canned too, and just like Lake. So, yeah, It's Washington State, real quick. I think I think they have a solid defense. The total is low here, 43.5. I think this could be a rock fight. But if there was one time, I know Washington's dominated this, and they kind of treat Washington State like their little brother in football. I think they could get them here. I think it'll be a good one. I just think Washington State's a little bit better football team on both sides of the ball. So give me Washington State in this one. I rode them all year. Take them now.
Yeah, I mean, this is as good a chance as any. There's no question about that. This is down as Washington's been in all these years when these teams have faced each other in the Apple Cup. All right, Colorado, Utah. We've got Utah 24-point home favorites, 52 the total. I love Utah. I'm so thrilled they won against Oregon, dominated the Ducks, both sides of the ball. Their defense shut down Anthony Brown and the Ducks offense. And look, they shut down the run game for Oregon. And I said, if Oregon can't run, they can't move it on offense. And that's exactly what happened in that game. Credit to Utah. Great win, but this is not the spot I'm laying 24 with Utah. Obviously, they clinched the Pac-12 South Division. They're going to be in the Pac-12 championship game. This game's kind of inconsequential to them. I think you actually can take the points with Colorado here. I'm probably going to have a small bet on it. I mean, obviously, they're not a very good team, Colorado, but we'll give them credit. They have covered 3 of the last 4. 23-point loss to Oregon, beat Oregon State in overtime, lost to UCLA by 24, beat Washington last week. So they've been a little bit better. I don't love their offense. I don't think Brendan Lewis is anything to write home about at the quarterback spot. The run game's been hit or miss. The defense has been ripped apart at times, and Utah's offense is good enough to do that. But are they focused enough? Are they up? Are they motivated? Are they locked in mentally enough in a game like this that really is just get it over with and get to the Pac-12 championship game? So I think it's a pure spot play. Small bet for me, Colorado with the points. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stay away here. It was like a couple weeks ago with Utah. I think they win here. Do they want to win by 4 touchdowns or more, or just maybe by 3 touchdowns? Colorado's not very good on offense. Their defense is still okay. And yeah, that was the big one last week. I thought they'd manhandle Oregon a little bit, and they did. They took care of business like you talked about. So this one's just a strict pass. I don't even want the points with Colorado here either.
All right, here's an interesting one. And I know Cincinnati looked terrific against SMU. Give them credit. That was Cincinnati's A game. And when they play that good, they're as good as anybody. But we hadn't seen it in previous weeks. But boy, we saw it against SMU. Cincinnati was impressive. We'll see if they can keep it going here. They're playing East Carolina. Cincinnati 14-point road favorites, 58 the total in this game. I think this could be a dangerous game because look, that was at home. That was a big national TV game. SMU had been rolling, having a great year. Now you're going on the road. East Carolina's not going to have the kind of record that is going to capture Cincinnati's full attention the way SMU did. And now you're going on the road for this one. East Carolina's final home game. East Carolina getting 2 touchdowns and a point spread role we like them in. I know Cincinnati, when they look like they did against SMU, they're that good on both sides of the ball, and they play their best game. It's good enough to beat anybody and cover any point spread. And that was a game against SMU that we flat out did not see from Cincinnati when they played South Florida and they played Tulsa and they played Tulane and Navy, and they struggled in a lot of those games to get by. But will you see that game here after just an ass-kicking over SMU, now on the road, a team that may not excite them as much, and an East Carolina team that's playing their best football of the year right now and in a point spread role where I love to back this team? So I'm trying to make a case for ECU at least early in the week with Holton Ahlers and an improving ECU defense as well. Connor, what do you think here?
Yeah, they got ran on, though, by Navy. But Navy played Cincinnati pretty good in that game. A lot of similar opponents, obviously, and, not too different scores here in this one. I wanted more than 2 touchdowns. I stayed off that Navy game. I was worried, and that was kind of crazy for me because I took in East Carolina every week. They had won 7 straight ATS. They had been a regular on my card every Saturday. So I lean them here. But you're right. If Cincinnati's humming like that, they could take care of business. Do they want another big win going into, this is the final, just last game of the year, or is it just, get in, get out, getting, out of there with a win? So if I had more than 2, I still like it a little bit here at 13.5, but I wanted over 2 touchdowns. So I lean East Carolina here.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, Real Deal Prime, play-by-play. He's doing play-by-play for football, it looks like. Way to go. The
Nice.
play-by-play guy didn't show up. I did TV and radio at the same time. True story. All right, good stuff.
Have you ever heard him? He's
Yeah.
got a play-by-play voice.
Wow, good stuff.
He's got
I
the
was thinking
commercial.
of being a broadcaster back in the day, but went another route. Ended up in sports, but not as a broadcaster. But this is the next best thing, doing shows still on a daily basis. But way to go, Real Deal Prime, definitely. I like the over as well, too, 57.5. Like, since he's putting up points, I think there's onus for Luke Fickell to run up scores or score as many points as possible. And I think they can do that. And I think East Carolina can score on the Cincinnati defense a little bit. It's worth noting, the last time since he came to East Carolina was 2 years ago. 46-43 for Cincinnati, 89 points, and East Carolina was right in that game. So that's why I'm thinking East Carolina in the over here in this one between these two. All right, let's turn our attention now to Saturday. We've got a few marquee games to break down. Ohio State and Michigan. We've got Ohio State, 7.5, 8-point road favorite, 63 the total. You know, the good news for Michigan coming into this game is the passing game's never been better than it's been the last few weeks. Cade McNamara is starting to air it out, and he's starting to have success doing so. 59 points against Maryland. The passing game's been better the last 4 weeks for Michigan to go with Corum and Haskins running the ball. Well, they better hope they have every ounce of that Cade McNamara passing attack here if they're going to hang with Ohio State for 4 quarters, because this is looking like a scary offense right now for Ohio State these last few weeks. They had some red zone difficulties against Penn State and Nebraska. And since then, they've returned home and put up a 59 and a 56 spot in wins against Purdue and Michigan State. You look at this situation here. Michigan's got a balanced offense, but I don't know if Michigan is going to slow down Ohio State, because remember, they played Michigan State a few weeks ago, that loss to the Spartans, 37 points to Peyton Thorne, Kenneth Walker in that Spartans offense. And that's by far the best offense Michigan's defense has played this year. Now you got to face Ohio State. I'm not involved in the side. I just cannot go against the Buckeyes with the dominance they've had over the last several years against Michigan. But I do like the over. It's cashed in 7 straight head-to-head meetings between the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. 7 straight overs, believe it or not. This total in the 64 range, it's high for Michigan. It's very reasonable, though, for Ohio State. And you look at some of these final scores, 56-27 and 62-39 in the last 2 meetings in this rivalry series. So that's what I like, is the over. I'm not involved in the side, but I think Ohio State will score, and I think Michigan can do enough and pose enough problems to Ohio State to contribute as well. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it could get over here. I don't see both defenses stopping him here. I know it's in the big house. There's no way I can take Michigan at 8 points. No frickin' way. I get McNamara's played better. I don't trust him. Michigan's going to want to run it. You know, they'll bottle them up. I've been big on Ohio State all year long. I take them again. I think they're 2 now because I got to go through all my stuff, but they were the whole year a top 5 first half team, and they've been covering first halves, 4 out of the last 5. I think they've covered most all year except 1 or 2. You could look first half here, get it short 3.5, right around there. So I'm gonna take the lay it here with Ohio State. They beat down Michigan.
It's not a bargain on Ohio State laying
Same
more
old
than a
shit
touchdown on the road, but
Yeah.
I mean, we've just seen it year after year. Harbaugh
Yeah.
and Michigan falling short against Ohio State, so that's why it seems like a lot of points here, but I just don't trust Michigan enough to take them here in this game. All right, Wake Forest and Boston College. We've got Wake Forest 5-point road favorite, 63 the total in this one. I don't know what happened to Boston College in the first half last week. It took them until the third quarter to finally wake up against Florida State. And by the time they did, it was too late. They dug themselves too big of a hole, and they ended up falling short, 26-23. A valiant comeback attempt, but ended up falling short. They had some fumble issues as well. Turnover by Jurkovec. Jurkovec, not one of his better games. 10 of 24, 148 passing yards. I still think Boston College is a better game than them, and this is definitely not a good spot for Wake. They're off the loss to Clemson. The defense has really been ripped apart the last 3 games for Wake Forest, and now off the loss to Clemson. that eliminates them pretty much from the ACC championship contention for the most part. I think it's going to be difficult. Actually, no, it's not really. They're 6-2, but Clemson's got the tiebreaker now because they beat Wake head-to-head. So Wake's got to hope they win, and Clemson loses their final game to South Carolina, which is probably unlikely to happen. So it really did damage to Wake's chances to be in the ACC championship game against Pitt. So in this case here, I'm not looking to lay points on the road with Wake. I'm willing to maybe give Boston College another shot. It's their final home game. I got to believe they're going to play better. They'll be amped up for Wake coming in here. I would look to the home dog and probably look to points being scored because, look, over has been the theme for Wake Forest in recent games. When you can get an over out of Clemson and a game that ended up with 65 points scored in it, that's saying something. Wake's just pulling everybody into these overs, and I think they'll do it again here. Connor, what do you think?
That's exactly what I was going to say. To get Clemson to start scoring, it didn't look like it early. That game, early on, it looked like midway through the second it was going to stay under. Then the fireworks hit and the floodgates open, and there's scores back and forth. I just don't trust Boston College enough. They're my lean here. I wanted, over a touchdown to bet this. And I don't trust Wake. With that defense on the road laying this number, no way. That's why I couldn't play them last week. After seeing the money and everything going on with that, it was Clemson or nothing in that game. So, yeah, I lean Boston College and only but over. Wake Forest, just take the over, baby. Over.
Yep, no doubt about that. All right, next up, we continue along. We've got Georgia and Georgia Tech. Georgia, 35-point road favorites, 54 the total in this game. I'm probably going to end up on Georgia first half. I know this is one of those games where it's out of conference. It's not an SEC game, but it's still a rival. I think there's onus still to beat down this Georgia Tech team that I think you worry about them a little bit. I know maybe they get themselves up off the mat from a brutal game that they had Saturday against Notre Dame, but I don't see it happening. I mean, 55-0, terrible defense. Jordan Yates, the quarterback, who I thought actually played okay against Boston College the week before. What a step back it was for him. This has Georgia just, naming the score kind of written all over it here. I don't know how Georgia Tech's going to function on offense against the best defense they've seen all year. This looks to me like maybe double up. Even more than just the minus 35. Maybe you can go minus 21 first half, Georgia, because Georgia could be up like 24-0 or 28-3 or something like that at halftime. They really could, because that's how sorry this Georgia Tech's team has become the last few weeks and really all season. It's been a disappointing year. I think the time might be ticking on Jeff Collins. I mean, his seat is warming up now. They've not progressed under his watch. Connor, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm surprised this isn't more. I get it's a rivalry, but Georgia Tech's pathetic. That was pathetic. Notre Dame's pretty good, but I mean, that was over real quick. That was, 35-0 after the first. You talked about the number one team is Georgia first half. I just talked about Ohio State. You mentioned it. They were the top team. So, yeah, you could look at this as a double up. I don't know how Georgia Tech gets even up for it. Yeah, I mean, it's Georgia all year. Georgia or pass. Lay it.
Yeah, and by the way, the last time they met was 52-7 for Georgia in that game. And oddly enough, it was actually 17-7 at halftime, and then the floodgates opened. But I think the floodgates are going to open earlier than that in this game. I still like that first half as well. Georgia minus 21 in this game. All right, next up, we've got Wisconsin and Minnesota. This is the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, is what I believe they call this rivalry game here. Wisconsin, 6.5-point road favorites, 39 the total in this one. This has back and forth, low scoring battle between two pretty good defensive football teams, two teams that are good against the run, which is the strength of these two offenses. So this definitely has, low scoring, because I think both teams have it in them to take away the strength of the other team, which is running the football in this one. Minnesota bounced back. We like them laying the points against a sorry Indiana team, and they won that game 35-14. Wisconsin wins but does not cover against Nebraska 35-28. Kind of fortuitous they won that game. They were outgained by 54 yards. You look at this game in the standings, it is a big one in the Big Ten West Division. Wisconsin 6-2 in the conference. Minnesota 5-3 in the conference. But if Minnesota wins this game, and moves to 6-3, they'd tie Wisconsin and they'd get the tiebreaker. And then all of a sudden, if Iowa loses to Nebraska, there's still a slight opening for Minnesota to win the West Division, but they got to win this game, obviously, against Wisconsin. And obviously, Wisconsin's open there. So it's a huge game. It really is. Lots on the line, but I think it's a tight game. I think it's low scoring, lean under. And I'm actually leaning to taking the points here with the Gophers at home. Home dogs, I think they're right in this game. I think it's got a field goal game written all over it. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, Hoops, there's a college basketball show. I'm if I can make it there. And yes, I've heard of work, Bob Marley, of course. I need more points here. I need over a touchdown. I just under a touchdown. I don't feel confident. I've been with the Gophers last week. They won big, 7.5-point favorites on the road. I laid off them a few games. I think I'm 4-0 with them all year. I need more than a touchdown, so I'm just going to stay away here. And you're right. It could stay under. Some of these games sneak over. They're sneaking over these low totals. Some of these 37s, 38s, they just get there. So yeah, it could stay under and be a dogfight. Wisconsin's defense is really good. So is Minnesota's. So yeah, I need more than a touchdown. I'll be on it.
All right, we have Oregon State, Oregon, Civil War rivalry matchup here next up. Oregon 7-point home favorite, 61 the total in this game. I'm on Oregon State here. Plus the points. I think there's a very live road underdog. I know they've struggled at times on the road, but where's Oregon's headspace now? Knocked out of the playoffs. They're done. I mean, in terms of the playoff, forget it. They're not getting in the playoff now after that loss to Utah. They could still win the North Division, and obviously they would clinch that if they win here. But Oregon State, suddenly, if they win here, they go to 6-3 in the conference. Oregon would fall to 6-3 in the conference, and Oregon State would get that division or get the tiebreaker with beating Oregon head-to-head. So Jonathan Smith's team is going to be amped up for this. And I like what they're doing on offense. Nolan's been solid. They've got the run game that's been pretty good as well. And they're using this linebacker in this like wildcat formation lately for them. And it's been impressive. So they've got the great running back, B.J. Baylor. He's been outstanding. But they've been using the linebacker, Jack Coletto, as like this hybrid running back, wildcat quarterback deal. And he is just running the ball right down the gullet of a lot of these Pac-12 defenses, kind of like what he did against Arizona State on Saturday night. I like what they're doing on offense. They're a little bit creative. The defense has picked it up. It's been a better Oregon State defense than we've seen. And again, you've got to question, where's Oregon's psyche? I know it's a rival. You should be fired up. But when you have your playoff dreams dashed in just obliterating fashion, getting crushed by Utah, where are they at going into this game? I'm not so sure. I think Oregon State can take advantage and make this one a down-to-the-wire game at the very least. So I'm on the points here with the Beavers. We're going to chomp with the Beavers. We had them last Saturday. We're going to have them again, hopefully, here on Saturday this week. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah. This is 7 points with the Beavers here. I mean, you want over a touchdown in this game. Oregon is at home. I think they do play better. But it's just better when Oregon State has good football. I love it. They've had a great year. And you're right. I don't even think they cover here. I think they go in and win. Right now, they're the better football team, just all around. Brown, they just can't throw it at Oregon. The defense is just okay. They can still run it, but no passing game. I think Oregon State hones in on that. And they probably might push Oregon around here a little bit, which is crazy to say. I'd only be on the Beavers here. Take the 7.
Yeah, I think the blueprint's out on Oregon. Anthony Brown doesn't scare you throwing the football. You stack that damn box, you take out Travis Dye, and you take out all the running backs and don't let them beat you, and suddenly you can defend that Oregon team. That's going to be the modus operandi, I think, once again for the Beavers, just like it was for the Utes on Saturday. A battle of Bedlam. Here we go. Big 12, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 3.5-point home favorites, 50.5 the total in this game. There's producer Jose saying, fuck OU. There you go, right on the screen. Not a fan. I'm probably not a fan of Oklahoma here either. I know they did bounce back. Credit to them. But look, they benefited from Purdy getting injured, backup quarterback most of the second half for Iowa State. I've said this a million times. Not a million, but the last few weeks consistently on this show. I'm not looking for reasons to step in front of Oklahoma State. I'm not. This is the best defense in the Pac and the Big 12 by far. Look what they've done. 3 points to Kansas, 3 points to West Virginia, shut out Texas Tech, 17 to TCU. I mean, they're playing defense that we never see in the Big 12. We never see anybody play good defense. And now all of a sudden, here's Oklahoma State not only playing good defense, great defense. This is a really good defensive football team. And don't look now, but suddenly Caleb Williams looks human. This is now a few games in a row where he hasn't looked all that great after lighting it up in his first few starts at quarterback for the Sooners. So I think Oklahoma State's the side for me. Do I like laying points with them as much as taking points? No, but they've been getting it done as favorites lately. You look at these last 4 wins for Oklahoma State, all as favorites, and all of them point spread covers. Yes, you got to respect Oklahoma still. It's a rivalry game, but not this time am I taking points in a rivalry game. We're laying it with Oklahoma State. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, Oklahoma State just keeps winning. This is the best, most dominant team. I've had Gundy in a long time, maybe the best ever he's had, especially on the defensive side of the ball. 3-3. They gave up 17 to TCU, but they scored 63, and they shut out Texas Tech just easily, 23-0. They're laying points now. I want to be on them too. This game scares the shit out of me, and I'm never big on Oklahoma because they're always laying points. And I never want to lay points to Oklahoma. It always seems like you lose. Now you're catching 4 with them. This is tricky. The last big game was Iowa State. They lost that. They covered, but they lost 24-21. I'm worried this one could be close. I want Oklahoma State to win and cover, but a tricky one here for me. I don't love that it's 4 here.
Excellent. By the way, just some rivalry facts for you. Last time Oklahoma State has beaten Oklahoma in football, Tyreek Hill returned that punt against Bob Stoops.
That's right. It's been Oklahoma's definitely, they've won.
And when was the last time they've been
Oklahoma State 2014?
Favorite.
It was
a
Mason
while.
Rudolph was the quarterback that year. Yeah. It's a long time ago.
It's been a while, and the fact that they're favored here scares me, but we're winning this game too. Fuck OU.
That's another thing too, right? That I immediately stuck out to me. Hold on now. Oklahoma's won 6 in a row in this series, but Oklahoma State's favored here. Another telltale sign to me that I think that's the right side. The Cowboys here. They're favored for a reason. I think they're better this year now.
I love under a field goal.
Yeah.
So, but that's why the number's there.
That's right. That's why it's there. And I think they're trying to make it even more tantalizing to take Oklahoma. I'm not falling for it. I like Oklahoma State. Alabama, Auburn. We've got Alabama 19.5-point road favorites, 55 the total in this game. There's a certain question about whether Alabama, is going to cover a number like this. They haven't exactly been, doing that lately. The LSU game, the Arkansas game, and now they're going on the road. They're just 1-2 ATS on the road this year, Alabama. Yeah. They beat up Mississippi State, but they barely beat Florida. They lost to A&M. So being able to cover numbers on the road is a little bit dicey to trust them. But at the same point in time, you've got Auburn now, 3 straight losses, straight up in ATS. They're struggling. TJ Finley wasn't the answer at quarterback against South Carolina. They lose that game 21-17 outright as favorites. Not exactly a ringing endorsement for them. It's probably a game I'm not going to have much involvement in. It's tough to lay this many in a rivalry. Auburn, you would expect at home, is going to bring their best, but the question is their best going to be good enough to even hang within 3 touchdowns with an offense that's, not exactly one we trust without Bo Nix, who's out for the rest of the year. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is Bama or nothing here for me. I knew that laying 8 points on the road, even if South Carolina is a good team, South Carolina beat them. I know it's a rivalry game, and Bama has not been the same team, like you just said, Ian, on the road. At home, they've just been dominant. But still, with Nix out, even with Nix, I wouldn't be hyped on it, but he's, the better shot at quarterback, I think. So I lean Alabama. I think they can beat him up here pretty easy. Roll Tide.
Yeah, and definitely worry about the Auburn defense has kind of fallen apart too in recent weeks, and you worry about that with Bryce Young. And just, this receiving core, it keeps getting better. The Cameron Latu, the tight end's been good. Bolden, Jamison Williams, incredible speed. And, of course, fellow Canadian, John Mechie, who's had a huge role in that receiving core this year. Born in Canada, believe it or not, John Mechie. So good to see him doing well. He was behind Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and all those great receivers last year on Alabama. He's like the 3rd or 4th option. Now he's one of the lead options at receiver this year for Alabama. and he's obviously doing a great job for them, and for Bryce Young, the quarterback. Clemson and South Carolina. Clemson, 11-point road favorites, 43 the total in this one. This is a pretty clear pass for me because, look, Clemson's defense, I was impressed, actually. That was a very good explosive Wake offense, and they kept Wake bottled up for much of that game. Great defensive performance, and don't look now, DJ Uiagalelei in the offense is slowly starting to get things rolling a little bit. Now, some of that might have been a bad Wake defense, but that's a good sign for them moving forward. And, of course, they're still very much alive, in the ACC picture when it's all said and done. That win has given them a very real chance here. 6-2 in the conference. They've got the tiebreaker over Wake Forest. They win this game. Obviously, they are playing for an ACC championship game against Pitt, which would be a great game, by the way. And it would be a rematch because Pitt beat Clemson in Pitt earlier this year. But first things first, Clemson's got to take care of business. They should. Don't know if I'll lay 11.5, but probably Clemson wins the game. Probably still don't really love the idea, though, of laying double digits yet with this Clemson team. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I can't do it. But South Carolina, I wanted over 2 touchdowns. And they got the number right where I thought it'd be, right here, 11 or 12. I know these teams have kind of hit the shit. As they say, Florida, they beat them 40-17. They lost to Missouri by 3. They just beat Auburn as 8-point home dogs. They're at home again, and I'll give a talk to my guy, Big Ragu, who's usually got a pretty good beat on South Carolina. I think the points could be the play here. I think South Carolina playing a little bit better. I think their defense, this could be a battle in the trenches. I know the total's low, but I'd be back to the Clemson under here in South Carolina, so I lean under even with the low total.
All right, we've got Western Kentucky and Marshall. This is a game to determine the CUSA East, and the winner here will play UTSA in the Conference USA Championship game. So this is a huge one. Marshall, 1-point home favorite, 75 the total in this game. I'll come right out and say it right now. I just think Western Kentucky's better, and I'm going to be on them here. And I know it's at Marshall this game, but Marshall's had some head-scratching games where, they lost to Middle Tennessee. They blew a big lead against East Carolina. They've had some losses that you scratch your head. Whereas you look at Western Kentucky, they've just been a model of consistency. They haven't lost in conference play other than UTSA, and they gave the Roadrunners everything they could handle. Lost 52-46. And I like Bailey Zappi in this offense. And you look at the Marshall defense, not as lately against the pass, 231 passing yards allowed, which isn't great. And when you look at Marshall, they prefer to run the football a lot, and Western Kentucky's been pretty good, pretty stout against the run. I like Western here. I like what this team's done. Once in a while, Marshall's had those head-scratching performances. Western Kentucky's been more consistent in my mind. Hard to envision this not being a shootout. The question is, do you want to go over a total like 75? Because both teams are extreme tempo teams. They both play fast. It's going to be a lot of points. Will it be enough to get over the total is the question, but certainly hard to make a case for the under. What do you think here, Connor? CUSA East Division Championship, essentially, here. Western Kentucky, Marshall.
Yeah, I don't see how Western Kentucky doesn't get 40-plus easily here. One thing is they beat up on a lot of shitty teams. The Old Dominion wasn't playing its best. FIU, Charlotte, Rice. But they kicked ass. They just beat FAU 52-17. I was on it in the over. And Marshall, I can't figure them out. I don't know when they're going to lay an egg sometimes, but they have an offense that can move it as well. One thing against these shitty teams, Western Kentucky, it's made their defense look better, but is this one going to get into a shootout into the 40s? I'm with you. I lean Western Kentucky. I've trusted them all year a little bit more than Marshall, so I'd be on Western Kentucky here.
All right, couple games left. We got Penn State, Michigan State. Michigan State 1-point home favorites, 51.5 the total. Oh man, I'd be reluctant to take Michigan State here. And look, Penn State showed some life last night. They didn't even have. We were going back and forth. We were hearing conflicting reports. Is Sean Clifford going to play? Is he not going to play against Rutgers? And he didn't play, but it didn't matter. They still ended up rolling past Rutgers, and the defense just completely shut down the Rutgers offense in that game. And look, Michigan State off the debacle against Ohio State, their second loss. That's a stinging loss. It's not going to be easy, I think, for them to bounce back from it. I think from a spot perspective, you'd lean Penn State. It is, a final home game spot for the Spartans, but Definitely in terms of
No
defense
way.
acumen right now, who's got the better defense? Right now, it sure looks to me like Penn State. That might be enough here for them to win. What do you think here, Connor?
I want nothing to do with this one. I just want nothing to do with Penn State right now. Michigan State just got their ass whipped. Penn State's defense looks good, but I don't trust their offense. I trust State's offense, and their defense not very much this year. Usually think a Michigan State team, I zero in on their defense. They just got shredded. I know it was Ohio State, but they got beat. Purdue put 40 up on them. Other teams have put 35 on them all year. So I can't take Michigan State here. This one's just a dead pass. Next.
Final game on this slate. We've got Florida State, Florida, 2.5 point home favorites, 58.5 the total in this game. I'm on the Noles here or nothing. I know they made the coaching change. People say, well, how are you going to get fired up for your final game with a coaching change right before the final game of the regular season for Florida? How is that supposed to stimulate you? I'm not so sure. This is just not a good football team right now. I mean, defensively, they've fallen apart. And offensively, even with Emory Jones and the other quarterback, Richardson, they've had trouble. Now they're playing for bowl eligibility, but you think Florida gives two shits after the last few years and what you're expected to do to be 6-6 and in a minor bowl game? I actually think being in a minor bowl game means something to Florida State because they're also 5-6. And I think they want to be at least in a bowl game here for Mike Norvell's team. And look, they've put together back-to-back wins against Miami and Boston College, two pretty good ACC teams. Jordan Travis has been good offensively. And look, even the defense has played better and gotten timely stops when they've needed it. And let's not forget, before the last two wins, they gave Clemson everything they could handle. I don't know. I'm not taking Florida as a favorite. I think Florida State's got a lot more incentive here than Florida. A brutal year for the Gators based on what the expectations were. I think Florida State can win this game. It's a winnable game. I would only look at the Seminoles here in this one. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Seminole guy for weeks and weeks and weeks. I stayed off the North Carolina State game, but then the whole bad thing with Clemson on the last play of the game. But all those others, they not only won, they covered. There's just no way I could take Florida here. I mean, is this Florida State, like you talked about, they got to get to a bowl game. I think they can go in there and win. I mean, I don't know any evidence of Florida past few weeks, all that's going on there, and they just keep losing. They're getting their ass kicked by South Carolina, Missouri. You're telling me Florida State can't go in there and beat them in this rivalry? Come on. Give me Florida State, money line.
Florida State money line. I agree. And by the way, Florida 1-4, straight up 0-5 against the spread their last 5 games. The only victory was Samford, an FCS team. That's it. So it's been
They gave up 60 to Samford.
Yeah.
Remember that? It was like finals.
Still, that's bad. Yeah, very bad.
68, like 58.
Yeah, there's no way I'm laying points with Florida. No way. It's Florida State, and we both agree there. All right, Sunday NFL whip around briefly. We're going to save analysis for Tuesday with Jimmy the Bag because we're going to be on that show filling in for Rob Bebenick. It'll be Connor, me, and Jimmy the Bag Tuesday night for the NFL Beat the Line show right here on Pub Sports Radio. So I'll just throw it out there now that the only bets I've made early in the week here, NFL, Carolina, Miami over. I like that one. And the other one I looked at was San Francisco -2.5. It's up to 3 now against Minnesota. I like that one a little bit as well. That's it. Those are the only and Washington. I should say Washington football team on Monday Night Football. I've also bet them. I got them +1. They've now become a slight home favorite. I agree with that. Seattle stick a fork in them. They're done. So there you go. I'm on San Francisco. I'm on Carolina, Miami over. And I'm on Washington. Those are my 3 bets I've made early in the week in the NFL. Connor, any thoughts, NFL?
No. No thoughts. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. I'm going to get to it tomorrow, yeah. So Sundays like this, Monday, I'm so in on college football. I just, NFL will be later today and tomorrow night. So nothing for me.
No, nothing wrong with that. All right, we're going to wrap up the show in a few minutes. 72 live viewers, hit the like button. Make sure you do that if you haven't already. We don't have many Hitting the Book shows left, although we're going to try to keep them going during bowl season. It's going to be fun to do them during bowl season because there's less games. You'll be able to dissect them a little bit more individually. So we're looking forward to that through the month of December on these Monday Hitting the Book shows. We'll wrap up the show with final thoughts and say our goodbyes in just a minute. But first, we'll pause for messages and pause for this. All right, Southtown 101, San Antonio, Texas. Stop in there. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, and karaoke. Manscaped, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase. Lawnmower 4.0, any Manscaped product, 20% off with the promo code PubSports. And MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. Great time of year, all the sports at once. Sign up for an account, Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit. MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. Connor, final thoughts before we say goodbye.
Nothing. College football's been good the last few weeks. We only got a few weeks left, and he talked about bowl season. But shout out to everyone in the chat. Real Deal Prime, Alex Smith, how you doing, my guy? What's up? Nutflush Allen, Real Deal Prime. Yeah, good job, man, with he calling the game. I thought that was funny. You're built for it, my guy. Hoops 590, Crystal Warren, Jared JT, Cab. That's it. That's all. Just shout out to the chat. We appreciate it. Hit the like button and watch the videos all week when these fabulous guys, Jose and Preston, cut them up for us.
Absolutely.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, exactly. For all the work they do behind the scenes, they're going to, put these individual game preview videos into segments later on the channel. So look forward to that. You can see me later today, NBA Pub Hub, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can see Conor Mac later today. Net Profit College Basketball, 5 p.m. Eastern with Maxwell Smart. And you can see both of us again tomorrow night. Pinch hitting, filling in for Rob Bebenik with Jimmy the Bag. NFL Beat the Line, Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Should be fun. You, me, and Jimmy together doing the NFL breakdown.
Crack a few beers and break down these games. Really dig into them.
You better believe it. When I'm on at night, I'm cracking the cold ones open. You're gonna have a beer mug in hand. You better believe that tomorrow night. Great stuff. You can see both of us later today. NBA college basketball later this afternoon right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Conor Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the United States. Enjoy the football. Cash some tickets. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy the turkey. All that good stuff. And we will see you again next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of Hitting the Books right here on Pub Sports Radio.